What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode. This is the Lore Games. What are the Lore Games? Well, once a week, we, and I hate this phrase, but I'm going to use it just because I hate it, open the kimono. We open the kimono. We go behind the scenes, and we basically share our process for creating milestones, big events, the main flagpole points inside of the adult fantasy universe. And this is something for all of us. This is something for us. It's something for you. We are working together to create the big points in time, right? And so we do this every week. And as we do this, we are developing the processes, building the system and the foundation so that at all points in the future, everybody else who comes into our world and supports our group will be able to have this fully tested, fully vetted system for creating lore, for creating the big pieces of the lore, right? And then we'll drill down and get into specific stories. So I am excited, as always, to have wonderful guests, because playing a game by yourself sucks unless it's a solitaire. And so we have a wonderful group tonight. First, down here, we have Zach Arbella. Zach is an author. He's written 13 novels in the fantasy genre. He's fantastic. He's also working with us to create the first official adult fantasy novel. It's a hell of a lot of fun. I cannot wait for you guys to see it and to read it. Zach, how are you doing, buddy? You doing good?
Yeah, I'm good. Oh, yeah, I'm good. No complaints.
Awesome, man. Well, welcome to the game tonight. I'm going to mute you and we'll move over and we'll talk to some other people here. Over in this corner, we've got Studio 7.62, also known as Avery. Everybody, what is up? Welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
Doing
real good.
So for those that don't know, Avery is illustrator, comic artist. He's done work with Heavy Metal, Image Comics, White Wolf Publishing. He's been around. He's done a lot of stuff. He's fantastic. He's also currently working on the Devoid Origin comic. So it's his art that will be gracing those pages, and I get the benefit of seeing all this stuff behind the scenes. Let me tell you, man, everybody, it looks really good. It's actually really exciting to see. It's turning out fantastic.
See, I'm already looking at stuff going, I want to change that.
Well, that's because you're the artist, and that's what artists do.
I want to change that.
Yeah. You know.
Well, it's also like it's a little bit different style than the last thing I did, because I always change some things about my style for everything I do. And this part, it's like I'm doing things that are a little, I don't know, and a little bit of a kookier style.
Yeah.
For part of it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, is that right? Does that look okay? That's not how I normally draw. That's weird.
I think it looks great.
Okay.
I think it looks fantastic. I think you're doing a great job, dude.
Well,
So welcome to the Lore Games.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome to the Lore Games. All right. And so right up here, over here, that big dark block over here is someone you guys might know. It is Dusty Sky. Dusty's joining us tonight. How you doing, Dusty?
Hello. I'm a little tired, but it's Thursday. We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it to the weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, I get you, man. I get you.
Yeah, otherwise good.
No worries, man. Well, welcome. I just so that everybody knows, I coerced Dusty into this tonight. We've got Flint is out, and Andrew may be joining us, but he's actually, I think, occupied tonight. So hopefully Andrew will stop by. If not, no worries.
Let me just say, I was ambushed. Okay, he was like, "Hey, can I speak to you a minute on StreamYard?" And I show up, and he's like, "Excellent, you are our fourth guest tonight." So yeah, this was an ambush, but I'm here.
It's actually
I'm here and I'm ready.
That's actually not far from the truth, actually. When you put it like that, I'm like, yeah, I did kind of do that, didn't I?
That's the exact same. story, Melissa says how they got married.
Yeah, it's pretty true. It's pretty accurate. Pretty accurate. All right, let me share the game board. So I'm going to go ahead and pop, get sharing on my screen. You know what? I'm going to do the entire screen over here. There we go. We got the entire screen going on. And what we are going to do is talk about the game board. And let me pull some stuff up. All right, so here's what we have. If you guys are new to this, this is essentially our game board. This showcases a series of periods, or also known as episodes or issues or chapters. These are breaks in the larger story, and then as you go down each column, what you have are the actual stories itself. So stories have events, and inside of events there are scenes. And so what we're doing is we are going through different phases and using a system to generate a story. And this is not something that's ever been done before. So what we're doing is we're experimenting. We're using tools that we know work from storytelling, and we're modifying these systems to create a game or kind of a fun environment so that we can all play. So some of the stuff over time, you will see this evolve into an actual game structure or an actual framework structure that anybody can use. And so we're play testing this. And so far we've had some really good results. Round one was basically the spaghetti against the wall, structured, but still kind of a spaghetti against the wall thing. And then round two, we used the story circle, which looks something like this. This is Dan Harmon's story circle. And now we are moving into round three, which is really it's called the Save the Cat one sheet. Save the Cat is a framework for telling a story, a 20th century modern story. And what we're doing is actually creating kind of a board game out of it. Then you guys haven't seen this, but this is something we have over here. This is basically the same thing, just more detail. So when I read sections, this is something that actually James and I made last year. This is basically ties everything together. Every single part of a 2-hour movie is broken down like this. And every single movie and television show and series follows this. 100%, all of them. It's just the modern way to tell story, and it's proven itself out, and it's been mastered. So it's really great to have all of these bullet points. As long as you fill in the blanks, you have a story, right? Doesn't mean you have a great story, but you have a place to start and a place to refine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that over here because I know is completely overwhelming. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start, and we are where did we leave off? We left off with the Blood and Metal beat sheet, didn't we? I believe. So we did the 8 points there, and then Gloam Awakens. We worked on Gloam Awakens. The Great Smushing. So the last thing we did was the Gloam Awakening. Are you sure? Right. And we did a little bit of Are You Sure? Where last week exactly? Do you guys remember where exactly we were? Probably not.
I remember nothing.
You missed last week.
Oh, okay.
Zach, do you remember exactly where we left off last week? If not, it's not a big deal.
Give me a sec. Yeah. So we were following Blood and Metal.
Yep. I think we're doing Blood and Metal. We did the Blood and Metal beat sheet. It's right here.
Okay. Can you pull up the? Oh yeah. You know what I have no idea. I don't think we got that far.
Okay. So no worries. What we will do. Yep. I'm checking it out. We actually did. So what we did last week was we worked on the Blood and Metal beat sheet. So I will read this really quick, just to refresh. And then you can compare and contrast. I know it's a little small because I'm sharing a widescreen so we can fit all of this. But I will read this section right here. And then you can compare and contrast to the actual beats on the right. And we're actually following We're actually going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like we're just marching down in sequential order, right? So here is the Blood and Metal beat sheet so far. Opening image. And we have a couple of these, right? So war, kingdom being attacked as the emperor king plans for battle. Here, I'm gonna Zach, I'm gonna mute you just a second. War, kingdom being attacked as the emperor king plans for battle, called to wife in labor, midwife, witch, child, stillborn, sign you are cursed. Death and destruction coming to your kingdom, fire from the sky, and then the meteor comes. That was a really good combo. I think I got to give credit to Andrew for that, because
I came up with that.
You came up. That's right. You came up with that. That's
I came up with it, not Andrew.
That's right.
Andrew has bad ideas.
Andrew has bad ideas. You get credit. Avery gets credit for it. Opening, tribe attacking village, slaughter, meteor crashes into one of the forces, decimating them. A seer, an old blind lady, sees an image of total destruction and warns the king that this is going to happen and he must stop it. So somewhere in there is a theme stated. I think we have to kind of state that a little better, but we can always come back to that. Setup for home. The king and queen have a sad, tense discussion about their miscarriage. He and his queen are having trouble conceiving. Scene of heated discussion regarding the issue. The king is getting older and needs an heir. And then set up for work, preparing soldiers for dealing with the invading army. Set up for play. During the scene, word comes about the meteor. King decides to go to the crater to investigate. Catalyst. So right now we're over here in this square right here. So this is the setup. And now we're going into the catalyst. The catalyst. Gilgamesh gathers his army and travels to the crash site. They find a massive crater. Gilgamesh and his men go into the crater. They find what to them seems like the chariot of the gods, but in reality is a spaceship from the universe that predates our own, with twisted alien geometries, etc. They follow the howling to a central chamber where they make an astonishing discovery. There is a glowing ball of energy that resolved itself into an obese teenage boy who wakes up as they approach and demands to be fed. When a warrior makes a threatening move on him, the man is disintegrated by a blast of zero negative energy. When the king tosses him some food and drink, the boy thanks him and follows him around like a child with unquestioning loyalty. The king asks the boy, "What are you?" And then we have like a little bit of a second step to that catalyst, which is the king chooses to use the creature. The king's plan to use the primordial's power for his own ambition. The king, afraid of being obsolete, tries to subdue the creature, offers a drug concoction meant to docile him, hoping it will kill him. Instead, the primordial reverts to a childlike state. So this is a little bit of a combo. Some of that is old. But we ended up thinking that the king's plan is to use the creature for his own ambition. Now we come to the debate. The debate is over here on the far right. Home, the wife takes in the child, regarding it as a son she never had. The king approves for now, needing an heir. Work, the child powers quickly grow, and the king's desires them for his own purposes. He seeks to use them to defeat his enemies. Play, must prevent the destruction that has been foretold. The king brings the child into battle. Its powers level a neighboring city. The king is pleased, and the child enjoys it. The queen does not approve and tries to teach the child the value of human life. This does not please the king, which makes sense because the king is using him for his dastardly deeds. Debate, a little bit of follow up to the debate. Home, there's no heir. Work, because of weakness. He's seen as a weak play. What the hell can he do? No solution. So I think we need to clarify that a little bit, but it kind of makes sense. Break into two. That's the first green square over here on the right. The king wants to be a conqueror. Problem, no heirs make him weak in the eyes of his enemies. Failing empire, kill the child or use it for my power. And then finally, primordial training. This is beginning fun and games. Horrors, he goes through to make him the monster the king wants. Wild beasts, first battles, decimates a village, kills a kid in front of him as a lesson. Beast warriors, the love from the queen and the distance from the father. So if you guys want, so I think one of the things that we talked about last week is that it might be better to instead of going through rounds, it actually for for this stage, it actually might be better for all of us to kind of just pitch in and talk because we're going sequentially, right? How do you guys feel about that? As if we just all kind of work together and kind of jam like one thing to the next.
Yeah, fine.
Cool. Dusty, Zach, you guys okay with that?
Sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, I have no go.
Okay, awesome. So here's what I'll do just to save a little bit of time. What I'm going to do is let me get over here, and I'm going to make this larger so I can read it. So there are, inside of Fun and Games, there are some bullet points that we have to work through. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on screen. And I don't know if you guys, can you read that at all? Or is that like way too small for you guys? Do this. Does this work at all?
I can that I can read.
Yeah, that's readable. Before it's pretty small.
Okay, so let's take 2 minutes here. You can read it pretty quick. There's basically 4 sections, 4 little bullet points that happen inside of the fun and game section. The TLDR is the fun and game section is basically the trailer shots. Everything you see in an action-packed trailer almost always happens inside the fun and games. It's basically like what you came to the movie or to see, or it's the best part of the comic book. It's the real juicy action part of the novel. Inside of Fun and Games, there's the hero's training, there's the A story, which is the villain's move, there's the trial run and what it's all about. And so if you guys want to take just a couple minutes and read that, I will actually set up a couple of
the end is cut off.
Let me know when you need me to move it, and I will move it. Unless or I can do. Let me see if I can get it on. Does that work? That's too small.
Yeah, it's too small.
Okay, so let me know when you need me to move it over, and I will move it over for you. I'll also give you, if you guys want copies of this, it's totally not a problem.
The exact beats of an episode of My Hero Academia.
Right? I'm telling you, it's literally it's literally how every story is made. It's not. It is really. There is nothing successful that breaks the script. Very rare. Very, very rare. Does this kind of make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let me know when you guys are ready. No pressure.
I think I got the gist of it anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. Like it's kind of in the name, right? So you guys ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here is what we can do. All right. So I went ahead and set up Heroes Training, what it's all about, the trial run, and Villains Move. This would all be within Fun and Games. And so let's talk about it. So we have, this is basically the hero, and by hero, it just means the main focus of the story, right? Hero can be a good guy, it can be a bad guy, it can be a good guy turning into a bad guy. It's hero is just the focus. So
the protagonist,
exactly. So one of the things that we have been talking about before is who the focus of the story is, because it really is kind of focused on the king, right? And so the one thing we don't want to do is we don't want to switch. We don't want to all of a sudden focus on the primordial if our hero is the king. And so if our protagonist / hero is the king, then really this is his training, getting ready for war, maybe prepping the primordial, right? In fact, my computer's been acting weird, so this actually should be like down here. There we go. Here's training. And this needs to go up here. All right, there we go. So basically the hero's training would be the king, right? And him kind of putting the primordial through his paces and gathering an army or making the war plans kind of a thing. And then the villain's move. I honestly think in this case, I think what could be really interesting is if we're switching roles. So in this move, it's not the villain's move would actually be primordial, right? Even though technically the primordial is not the villain and the hero is not the king, I think we're going to be having a kind of a reverse ending. So in a lot of in writing, the midpoint determines the outcome. So usually what happens in the midpoint, we haven't gotten to the midpoint yet, but inside of the midpoint, if there's either a false victory or a false defeat, right? If the hero ends up overcoming the odds, which is like most hero movies or hero books, then there's a false defeat. So it's an opposite thing. At the midpoint, the hero is beaten bloody on the verge of death, and then he comes back and overcomes and becomes whatever, right? And succeeds, beats the bad guy. If the end of the book or the end of the movie or the end of the comic is where the hero or our protagonist loses or doesn't get what he or she was after, then there's a false victory. So the midpoint is the victory, the false victory of the protagonist, right? So for us, I think we're going to be doing a false victory, and that the hero is the king. He's going to be training. He's gathering his army. The villain's move is the primordial, maybe doing his own plans. He has some kind of plan, right? It can't just be him just eating all the time. It actually, maybe he has something going on, like something he wants to accomplish. We don't necessarily know what that is, but we see him making moves, and that makes us curious about what his goals are. And then, his probably is just using the king, because just because he looks like a little boy doesn't mean he's a little boy, right? Then we have the trial run, which might be the hero, in this case, the king, using the primordial for the first time against like an enemy or something. And then what it's all about, which is essentially the king talking out loud and saying, this is what I'm going to do, right? I'm using you, or I'm going to use him, or framing it in some kind of way. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? I'll pass the mic to Zach a little bit so I can stop talking. But what do you think in terms of like a hero's training? i.e., the king. Nope, you're muted, bud. Zach.
All right, third talk group, not me.
You're good. You're good.
All right. So what was the question again?
So basically, we're doing the heroes training, which is the king starting to train the primordial.
Oh yeah. I see it.
Right.
All right. Well, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, this isn't like Rocky. This isn't Rocky like Rocky being trained by Apollo in in anticipation of the big fight against Mr. T. This is this is the primordial as a child being raised by being trained by a Bronze Age king for his own purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking, and also the queen is the one who actually raises him.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that true to the setting, his training is basically going to be one of great physical and mental exertion. So you take this big overweight child with a lot of power and basically throw him in a pit against monsters, against warriors, against like wild beasts. Teach him how to fight, teach him how to kill, teach him how to spill blood, and afterwards be able to go to sleep at night. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So should I write this out?
It does. I guess my question is, and this is maybe the challenge of this kind of story, is like, if we focus too much, here's my question: if we focus too much on primordial, mm-hmm. then he becomes the hero, right, and really, or the protagonist. It's really the king's training, right?
Right.
So maybe we can still show it's the. Like, so we've got where you've got like people doubt their own abilities, or through their skills, habits, and or speech might hint at the truth. Some humble commoners think they can be a hero, but acknowledge they still have a long way to go, which is Captain America. Others don't have much of an opinion either way, but have a mentor who believes in them. So that might be a way to show the relationship between the king and the first wife. Like, what if the first wife was actually the mentor to the king, right? And he's having trouble it's almost like taking Morpheus's perspective and training Neo.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because we're not focused on Neo, we're focused on Morpheus.
Right. Okay. So Yeah, I see what you're getting at. Okay, so this is what if I was writing it, this is what I would do. Basically because let's be honest, the primordial is basically an ancient eldritch abomination. So there's really nothing that they can throw at him that's really gonna even come close to hurting him. Mm-hmm. So what I would do is, as part of is show a montage of the king using the power of the primordial to gain power over surrounding kingdoms. That's his training. He gains in power through the power of what's essentially his monster son. Yet as he's doing so, we also see it. We would also see him become more and more distant from his wife, his queen, because she's actually the one who actually has this thing's affection. Whereas she actually sees the kingdom, this thing as her child, whereas he just sees it as a weapon. So that would be his training. He uses the power of the primordial to to strengthen his own personal power. In the way imagine, for example, if Morpheus in the Matrix, instead of like trying to train Neo to fight to fight the Matrix, he uses Neo to fight other ships' captains, or to gain power in Zion.
Mm-hmm.
But as this is happening, that's his so that's how he grows, while through his possession of this creature. That's how he trains. He gains power. But again, to use the analogy of the Matrix analogy, while this is happening, Trinity is like he grows more distant from Trinity because she's the one who's actually to whom like Morpheus, or in this case the Queen and the Primordial, gives his affection.
Mm-hmm.
So does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. What do you guys think?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you want to write it up?
Yeah, all right, I'll do it. So it'll probably be under his upbringing is very okay. Scene. Great scene. How does the king grow and change through the influence of the primordial? The king uses the power of the primordial to assert his control over other kingdoms in the neighborhood. As the primordial grows in strength, so does he. However, even as he, the king, grows in strength, primordial becomes more attached to the queen, as she treats him as a son, while the king only treats him as a weapon. Only sees him as a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Sees him as a weapon. Result? Answer? It's a reason. Sorry. Answer. The king becomes strong, but even as this happens, his hold over the primordial weakens. It weakens because of the queen. I can't type. All right, take a look.
Let's see. I see. Primordial's training. Here, I'm gonna move this.
All right.
Wait, is this primordial training hard as it goes to make him the monster the king wants? Is that it?
What? Yeah, I guess.
First battles, decimates the village, kills the kid. No, that's not it. Let me refresh. I wonder if this is.
No. You're looking at the wrong one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's underneath. King chooses to use the creature he takes it in as an adaptive son. Wait a minute. Hold on. Oh yeah, hold on. Let me move. This is in the wrong spot. All right.
Okay. It should be under Heroes Training.
Yeah. What the? I just got moved out of the thing for some reason.
No worries. While you're doing that, I'll say what's up to chat. Got Willie D. What's up, man? Welcome. Hi. How you doing? Welcome. I got your messages. Answers coming.
Hey, Todd.
Yeah.
It looks like everything I typed just disappeared. Oh, here. Never mind. I see it. Here it is.
Okay. Thank God. I feel like the entire internet has been weird lately.
Yeah.
Doge Vibe, what's up? What's up, man? Dusty says, hey, snacks. Doge Vibes, you got a shout out yesterday on yesterday's evening alpha call. You got a shout out from the dude from Rumblers. So you should go check out the episode. We actually had a good conversation about you on stream, dude. All good stuff. Welcome back.
Damn it. That's not what I wanted.
That's all right. Maybe I can help.
No, I got it.
Oh, I see. You put it over odds and ends. I see.
Yeah. No, I'm not even there. Here we are. That is the king. There we go.
Yeah, totally Doge vibes. Go check it out. We it was good. We just started talking about you like midstream.
Well, let me delete this one. Okay, it's
Cool.
here it is. It's under king uses to choose a creature.
Let's see. I'm wondering if mine is actually like updating because I don't really see it. Oh, you put it in the wrong. I see. You put it in the first one. We're on the second one.
Oh Jesus! Can you move
Right.
it down?
Yeah, you put it under. I'll take care of it. This is it right here. What does the king take in the primordial?
No. How does the king grow and change through the influence of the primordial?
Okay, no worries. We're in the second column, which is sort of the beat sheet one. But no worries. I got you. I totally got you. Give me 1 second. I was wondering. I was like, man, am I? Let's see. Yeah, see, like my thing is like taking a long ass time to save, so it's being really weird. I gotta call my ISP provider because it's my whole system like something's up. We were Massive and I were debugging it, or well, Massive was debugging it like 2 a.m. for me last night. See, it's not saving. That's so weird. There it goes. It saves, but it doesn't register. It's really strange. 1 second. See if that works. Okay. Yay. Awesome. Right on. How does the king grow and change the influence of the primordial? The king uses the power of the primordial to assist his control, assert his control over other kingdoms in the neighborhood. As primordial grows in strength, so does he. However, even as the king, grows in strength, the primordial becomes more attached to the queen, as she treats him as a son, while the king only sees him as a weapon. King becomes strong, but even as this happens, his hold over the primordial weakens because of the queen. That's great. I think that's great. Avery, Dusty, what do you guys think?
Yes, it's working.
It is, yeah.
All right, so villain's move. Is basically while the king, I'll just use the name, while the king is off learning new skills, basically how to control the skill is how to control the primordial. The villain is on the move, and in this case, the villain is actually the primordial. We usually see bits and pieces of his plan, but not the end game. Right? The king is probably trying to learn what the primordial is up to. We could also I don't know if we introduced it here, but if we had to introduce another character that was a skeptic, maybe it is the wife, maybe she's the, well, it doesn't make sense because she took him in as a loving thing, but maybe there's someone else that's like, this thing, you're letting this thing in our house and it's up to no good, right?
Oh, the midwife, the witch, the soothsayer lady that made the prediction.
There you go.
She's not even new.
Right.
So, she could be trying to counsel the king against what he's doing.
For sure. So this is what can we? So the question is, is something along the lines of what does the primordial do that draws suspicion? I don't know how to spell suspicion. I know it's that's gonna be bad. Suspicion from the witch, right? Because he is making a move. What's his move? What's the answer? Avery, what do you think? Give me a shot where the primordial is like, we don't even have to know his end goal. It could be something totally like, world domination or some shit, or taking over the village for himself. I mean, I guess he needs to have an end goal, but like an end desire. But
well, as he grows, he's not going to like being told what to do and being treated the way the train treats him.
So he
would even sometimes be defiant to follow an order, but not like throw a temper tantrum like a little brat or something. He would just it would be a look.
Well, maybe like show don't tell, right? Maybe maybe the witch notices that the primordial is not behaving as is basically doing like 40 chess moves, right? Primordial is setting things up in place or is positioning himself in some way.
And he's not behaving like a child or a teenager as he grows. His mannerisms are actually much more of someone much older.
Right.
Just a thought. What if the primordial is like manipulating the queen to kind of soothe the king over, right? And kind of help conceal his plan. So the king gets suspicious about like the primordial's up to something, and the queen's like, no, our son is good, right? Something along those lines.
Yeah, he plays up to mom.
That's great. Plays up to mom.
Good.
Yeah, that's great. Plays up to mom, and it's the king reacts kind of emotionally. The witch understands that this is intelligent planning. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. He plays up to mom as a mama's boy, but to the king, he's looking at him sideways.
Mm-hmm.
We could make it, for example, that the primordial has never really experienced that kind of affection before because where he comes from, it doesn't exist. So to him, it's like something new and wonderful, which would make the king's eventual betrayal of that even more devastating to him.
Oh, I like that.
Not bad.
Primordial. Enjoys affection. Never had that. So he courts more of it, but like extreme, right? Like a drug. Again, because it's not a baby. He's just looking like a child. You know what I mean? For all you know, it's almost like a lover versus lover kind of a thing, right? Not to make it the same equalness, but the craving for attention. Cool. So what would a scene be that could replicate that? In fact, before we do that, let me save this to make sure that my thing is saving.
Oh, king has him in a pit or something for training, right? Like you're talking about using pits in some scenes, you know, for the training, and he doesn't want to do anything, and he won't perform and blow up this beast or whatever it is he does until the mother walks out and he sees her and he wants her attention. Then he's a good boy. Then he looks and sees and he puts on the show.
Dope.
Or it could be a battlefield scene. He wouldn't enter the fray of a battle until the mother showed up and was out of there because he wanted her praise for doing it. You know, either way.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's great. And that also, I like what Zach was saying, because that also screws the king up, because his whole thing is that he's self-conscious about his power and his position, and all of a sudden it's really the queen that has all the power, right?
Over his weapon.
Yeah. Right.
He won't perform, you know, he won't do his little circus seal trick. And the king's like, I'm losing troops here. Come on. And he's like, oh wait, mom's here? Okay. Mom's gonna see.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right, let's see if this works.
I mean, you know, we could play with the option that the primordial is in many ways an innocent at this stage. You know, he's basically a child. You know, his species version of a child, or he's ignorant of the ways of humanity. So, yeah, he doesn't really have a good sense of right and wrong, but he does know love and affection.
Mm-hmm.
So, something to think about.
What's up, J-Ra? Welcome. Yeah, that's really good. I like that. That's a pretty good event right there. That's pretty cool. Trial run. The king tries out his new powers for real. So really, this would be the battle, and villain's move would be like still the practice pit. You know what I mean? So the trial run is the king tries out his new power for real. The scene is flashy, sometimes hilarious, always exhilarating. Looky what he can do. But it's a mixed bag of success and failure. If he fails, it's usually not understanding the heart of the lessons. But fortunately for him, any failure at this point has very little impact on his ability to achieve his final goal. This is Tony Stark first straps on his bulky Iron Man prototype to blast his way out of captivity. Right? The first thing that popped in my head with this is like, this is actually when they go into battle, right? Because there would be a trailer moment. You've got the it's a Lord of the Rings moment where there's like two giant armies, and maybe the king orders Primordial to go out and do stuff, and maybe even the queen is there. Maybe that lesson has been learned, but the Primordial ends up doing it because this is a trial run, just decimates the opposing army, right? So you've got like some cool Marvel Cinematic Universe style explosions and power shots, but then doesn't stop, like wipes out the opposing army and then starts wiping out his army.
Yeah.
Almost like an Iron Giant. You know how Iron Giant, do you remember that movie?
No, never seen it.
Like Iron Giant, like is super sweet, and then he remembers that he's like a war machine. Anyway, like it's like,
or he proceeds into the village, into the city, and still keeps. It's like the army's been defeated. What I want is the city.
Right? Maybe he does. Maybe he keeps going and starts to wipe out. Like they're supposed to be fighting for territory, and this Primordial is like wiping out the territory.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you won, but what do you have to rule over? He not only wiped out the army, he wiped out half the civilian population. Also, it's like, oh, well, you need those.
Right. That's pretty cool.
And destroyed over half the infrastructure. It's like, well, you needed the roads, you needed the bridges, you needed the bazaar, you needed all that.
Right. It's like like you invade the country, you destroy the country. Congratulations, you own a desert.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. Zach? What do you think?
Yeah, that would make sense because again, this thing is this thing is an alien, and
Right.
he's essentially like an elder evil from the great far beyond, like basically like Cthulhu's layabout cousin. So
right.
So he wouldn't have any concept of that when you conquer something, you want to leave stuff behind because you're conquering it for a reason. To him, it's just you want me to destroy? I destroy. What do you mean? What do you mean you're not happy that I basically destroyed all the aqueducts and like turn the river to sand and basically render the land uninhabitable for the next 1,000 years?
Yeah, right. How would you want it? Right. Yeah. You trained me how to fight. You didn't train me how to turn it off.
Yeah. So basically, I guess what you could say is common sense is not a concept that he's really familiar with. He understands power, and that's basically it.
Well, both the king and primordial, right?
Yeah. But the thing is, the king is a human. The king, he's using the primordial for what are essentially human goals, right? To basically take his neighbor's stuff. But in order to do that, his neighbor's stuff has to survive the destruction of his neighbor. It's like if you cover your neighbor's house, you want to move him and his family out of there. You don't want to burn the place down in the process because you destroy what you're fighting over.
Right. Exactly.
And but the primordial doesn't understand that concept. To him, he doesn't understand the concept of wealth or property. They're alien to him. They're beneath him. It's like an ant trying to explain that to a man in a way.
Right. That makes total sense. Do you want to take a stab at writing it up under the trial run?
Trial run. Let me take a look. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. All right. Where is this? Is this under, or do I need to add an event?
It's under the trial. So I added an event called the trial run. If you look on the screen where I am.
Hold on. Let me take a look.
Yeah, I know you're looking at your own thing. So.
Oh. I think I'm looking at the wrong one. That's why.
Yeah, you've been looking at Blood and Metal. I'm looking at B&M, the beat sheet.
What happens when primordial is used in battle for the first time? So what I'm thinking is, did you ever see that movie Laputa? The Hayao Miyazaki movie.
Oh, I think I have. Yeah.
Well, in the mythos of that particular world, there were basically giant fire demons that were essentially used as weapons of mass destruction in the last war. And basically, they just incinerated everything in their path. So that's kind of what I'm going for right here.
I think that's perfect.
For the first time.
Yeah, it has a little Game of Thrones dragons kind of thing to it.
Sends the primordial against the city of Larsa, which he wants to add to his holding, to his own kingdom. Primordial transforms into a being of pure fire, pure elemental fire, and completely incinerates the city and completely incinerates the enemy army, and then does the same to the city, burning it, blasting it from the face of the earth.
Oh yeah, the fields and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes off like a nuke.
Earth. And the river dries up. The river is burnt, is boiled away. The fields are turned to glass.
Nice.
Glass.
That's pretty cool.
The people are turned to ash and blown away in the wind. And all that remains of a great city are a few broken fragments of wall. The primordial has destroyed the king's enemies, but also destroyed the prize. Destroyed the prize that the king sought. The city he wanted to conquer was eradicated, has been wiped from the face. No, that's redundant at this point. Answer. The primordial doesn't understand why the king is upset. He was asked to destroy, and he did it, and he destroyed. He does not have any concept of property, or wealth, or common sense. The king, all he understands, he understands power, like the king. But the king is human and has human goals. The primordial finds these incomprehensible. He is a creature of pure appetite. He's a creature of, I guess, pure id would be the best way to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
Pure appetite. A living, breathing id. That makes sense? All right, let me just check the spelling on this.
Yeah.
Because I am the world's worst typist. By the way, Larsa was an actual city in Mesopotamia.
Oh, cool.
All right, take a look.
Let me see if I refresh. The king sends promises. Where's my way? It feels like glass, and the people turn to ask him. So I'll read it for everyone at home here. What happens when the primordial is used in battle for the first time? The king sends the primordial against the city of Larsa, which he wants to add to his own kingdom. The primordial transforms into a being of pure elemental fire and completely incinerates the enemy army, and then does the same to the city, blasting it from the face of the earth. The river is boiled away, the fields are turned to glass, the people are turned to ash and blown away in the wind. And all that remains of a great city are a few broken fragments of wall. The primordial has destroyed the king's enemies, but also destroyed the prize the king sought. Primordial doesn't understand why the king is upset. He was asked to destroy, and he destroyed. He doesn't have any concept of property or wealth or common sense. He understands power, like the king, but the king is human and has human goals. The primordial finds these incomprehensible. He is a creature of pure appetite, a living, breathing id. Hell yeah, that sounds dope.
All right.
Hell yeah. What do you guys think? Good?
Yeah, super
nice.
awesome.
Awesome. What it's about. So what it's about at some point in pretty much every story except rom-coms, there's a moment where everyone stops, takes a break, and explains to each other and to the audience what it's really about. This is not just what each side plans to do, but why. Right? This is sort of the classic Bond villain that tells James Bond exactly, like, while he's tied up, exactly what his plans are. You know what I mean? I'm going to do this, and you will never be there. You know, like,
I expect you to die, Mr. Bond.
That's right. Joker doing the same thing to Batman before he robs the bank or something. So I think we can organize it later because heroes, the king would come usually earlier in the act, and the primordial's motivation would be towards the end when he's decimating the city or whatever. But for now, we can just kind of pile it into what it's about. And so what I'll do is I'll just create two little things. What it's about for the king. And we've talked about this, but we should actually form it here as well as a kind of a bookmark, which is what is the king's motivation, like what it's really about. And it's about the king really wanting relevance and power, right?
Yeah.
Does that sound about right, Zach and Dusty?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look. He's basically an ancient king and living in a time where basically your power was dependent very basically entirely on your ability to project strength, both military and plus anything else, economic and everything. He wants power because power, to be a king is to have power. A king without power is not a king. So it's. I guess the tragedy of the king, from a Shakespearean standpoint, would be that he's essentially a man who's blinded, but who's like who can't rise above the petty obsessions of his time, which is to have power over his neighbors. He has tunnel vision. That's how he sees the world. He can't see it any other way. So when this thing drops into his lap, literally like almost drops into his lap, and it gives him an enormous amount of power. But what he doesn't realize is that this thing has a will of its own. It has a concept of existence that's totally at odds with that. It's different from what he has, and also he's losing control over it because his wife is offering it affection. The one thing the king cannot give because it would make him look weak. I mean, why this thing is a tool to him? It's a dog.
Right.
Why would you treat your dog as your son?
Awesome. Yeah, exactly. And the motivation for the primordial would be the kind of the same thing, right? Well, it's relevance and power.
Yeah, basically.
It's almost
consumption of power. Fuel to keep growing because he's going to grow into this massive thing. So that all he cares about is consumption.
There you go.
To add on to the king as well, right? Like the king is unable to have an heir, and I feel like that kind of makes him inept, right? Like what kind of king doesn't have an heir? So he's got maybe feels like he has extra to prove.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Extra to prove.
I don't know if that would work because this thing is basically a monster. So why would the king want a monster as his heir? I mean, I think
maybe not as his heir, but as sort of like a flex. Like I don't need an heir. I have something.
Yeah,
more
I
powerful.
don't need an heir.
Yeah, or we could say he does have children by other wives or by concubines.
Mm.
But the queen it's the queen who's barren because kings in those days, they might have like a couple hundred women in their harem.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Hey, look, we got the dude popped in. What's up, man? What's up, Dave? Yo, this is awesome working publicly. Thank you, brother. Hey, good to see you, man. So for those that don't know, the dude has a project called rumblers.xyz. We had an awesome conversation last night on Evening Alpha. Check out rumblers with a z.xyz. Welcome, man. Massive. Hey, what's up, man? It's all right. You're always welcome. You're always welcome. And hey, Doge Five Snacks is watch that. We told the dude we told Doge Vibes, we told Snacks that he got a shout out last night. So he's watching the episode. He's watching it now, you know. Oh, is that, dude, you're not I thought you were Doge Vibes. I thought you were Snacks tonight. I'm sorry. My bad. What do I know? Different Snacks. All right, fair enough. Fair enough. Different Snacks. Awesome. What's up, Mastiff? Love it. Doja Vibe says, I'm a massive fan of your project now, dude. We can definitely team up. He works with the gimmicks. Yeah. Different Snacks. Okay. Fair enough. Now there's just mass confusion. There's multiple Snacks. Well, the other Snacks got a shout out too. There you do it. There you go. Hooking up. Absolutely. Good people, both you guys. That would be an awesome connection. All right, so let's see where we are. So we just went through fun and games. Now we also kind of covered, we didn't totally cover the B story, but we kind of covered the B story because the B story is oftentimes where fun and games is external, right? These are the sort of the external events, that the trailer park moments. These are the things that you see on the screen and it's like, oh my God, this is so cool. The B story is the internal action, and oftentimes it's the love story. Now, a lot of times people get caught up in thinking love story meaning love story, but a love story is a general term used for whatever relationship is forming. It can be a buddy movie. It could be two best friends. It could be, in Star Wars, in my opinion, in Star Wars, the love story, the B story love story is Luke and Obi-Wan, right? So it is really just a growing relationship where there is a caring and compassion, and it gives a platform for all of the internal exposition and storylines to take place, right? It can be used in action, like Obi-Wan and Luke's training, but in those scenes, it's also about self-doubt, and it's about family, and it's about the Force, and it's about you can do it. Like there's a lot of internal struggle there. So, do you guys want to try to do B story, or do we kind of feel like we have a little bit of that because of the mother?
I think the relationship with the mother is really the B story right there, because they're kind of happening in parallel to each other as it is.
Okay, so yeah, that's kind of what I feel. It's kind of like I feel like we kind of have it. Dude says, "Love y'all working publicly. Pull back the curtain, the Oz curtain. Bet most communities couldn't do this." No, man, it's true. Like we're showing all the warts and like how it really works. We're kind of blowing up the mystique of master writers that just write one thing and it's just perfect and it comes out. We just throw a lot of spaghetti against the wall and kind of cut out the crap. And Doge, IKR Adult Fantasy is lit. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. So cool. So the next shot is the midpoint. So the midpoint, here, I'll even zoom in on this so we can kind of focus. Probably should have done this a little earlier. The midpoint is either the false victory or the false defeat. Again, the end of the story almost always is the 180 of what you choose here. So if there's a win, if it looks like the hero or the protagonist of our story is winning at this point, he's probably doomed. He's going to have, these are the stories where the dramas where at the end of the story, the best friend dies of cancer, or the main character or the best friend dies of cancer, or the main character loses everything. It's the midpoint where it looks like, hey, everything's going to be okay, right? Like you kind of, it's the roller coaster part. So for us, because the end is kind of on a negative where the king loses everything, I think the midpoint is a false victory. So this is where there's a public display of hero. I mean, there's some info here like time clocks. That little X is because the A-B story can cross, meaning this is probably where, and this is a false victory for the king. So this would probably be where, since the A-B story crosses, and the A story is the primordial, and the B story is the queen. And since this is the king's false victory, this is probably going to be the point where he kills the queen, right? Because for the king, that's a victory. Like, I got my power back, bitch, right? Like, you have too much power. He respects you. Now he's going to respect me because you are out of the picture. And so all of those three things would cross, and it would be a false victory for him. Because maybe for a brief time, the primordial is so devastated that he just like obeys, maybe out of fear, or maybe out of just
being in a zombie like state,
right? Just like maybe even out of shock.
Yeah.
Right. So there are a few points inside of the midpoint. So the first one is off to see the Oracle. And I'll read these to you in a minute. I know it's not going to show. I promise. I have to keep refreshing. I don't know why, but there we go. Off to the Oracle. Midpoint 2 is the Ghost of Times Past. And then number 3 is the Nemesis Revealed. Which makes total sense, because at this point, the Nemesis is the king versus primordial, right? And I'll read what these are so that everyone can kind of understand. So off to see the Oracle. Basically what this is fresh off of his last trial run. In many cases, the mentor or the lead says, we're off to see the Oracle. This is the woman who will reveal the hero's destiny and hopefully confirm his status as the chosen one. If there is no Oracle, which is fine, the hero goes off on another trial run. But either way, this is the actual midpoint beat, the calmest of all of the calm physically, the most tumultuous emotionally, which actually makes sense. Like he can just slide a knife into her back, and that's actually a pretty calm motion. But emotionally, that's going to be the height of the entire thing. This is the first time the hero, or in this case, the protagonist / villain, must balance his normal self with his superhero self. The first true effort at synthesis. So for reference, notorious womanizer Tony Stark goes to the benefit party where he discovers the one woman he can't keep his eyes off of is the one he never even considered, his assistant, Pepper Potts. To his own surprise, he doesn't kiss her. He must learn to combine his own irresponsible boyish charm with the adult responsibility he's being forced to learn if he's not going to mess up the most important and stable relationship in his life, right? So it's the combining of the A and the B. So what do you guys think? If they go off to see an oracle, they could talk to the witch, or we don't have an oracle and they're actually going on another. There's another trial.
Yeah, I would have her whispering in the king's ear the whole time. Yeah, she would like always be around.
Mm-hmm. Zach, what do you think, bud?
Let me take a look. Yeah, that could make sense. I mean, it's the king going to the oracle, not the not the primordial, right? Because the king is essentially the main character.
Right.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah, it could be. It could be the. So basically, the oracle. Yeah, I can see that working. Yeah, it will be like he goes to something like the Oracle of Delphi or the Witch of Endor from the Bible, and he asks about this thing, and the thing about ancient oracles, especially like the Greek oracles, is that they never gave you a straight answer.
Right.
Yeah, because the Oracle of Delphi was famous, for basically giving its answers in riddles, which the recipient had to puzzle out, and basically, like for example, when like King Croesus of Lydia, asked Oracle whether or not he should go to war against the Persian Empire. He was told, if you go to war against Persia, a great kingdom will fall. He assumed that meant the Persians. So he went to war and he lost, and he realized that the Oracle was referring to his own kingdom. Great kingdom fell his own.
Well,
it would have to be something like that, I guess.
We could lift that. Like that would make total sense with a seer that was in the beginning as well, right?
Yeah. So he could go to.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, he could go to the. All right, let me. Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
All right. The king.
And while you're doing that, Zach, I'll just put you on mute for just a second. Just for everybody in chat, you guys are welcome to chime in. So if you're new, this goes for you, dude, Doge Vibes, Mastiff, everybody that's here. This is open. So if you have ideas, pitch it. Like it is a free reign. If you have, we are working together as a group. There's no pressure to do so. I know a lot of times it can kind of feel weird, and you don't want to quote unquote ruin something, but all we're doing is just talking smack and coming up with what we think could be cool ideas. At a later date, this will be refined and refined and refined and refined. So there are no bad ideas. Feel free to in chat if you have some cool thoughts, if you want to put your 2 cents in. We've had plenty of people over the last several weeks put stuff in, and it's become part of the different phases of our journey here. So you guys are more than welcome to do that. That's kind of the point. So we may be lead, but that's okay. It's all of us working together. So feel free to jump in. No pressure to do so, but you are welcome to, for sure. This has been your PSA from Adult Fantasy. Dusty, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think the witch would work well as an oracle. I'd almost like to see her kind of suggesting, not explicitly saying, but like suggesting the queen has too much power, right? Like the queen has too much power over the primordial, and it's going to interfere with your plans.
Yeah, that's I like that. When Zach's
typing. Yeah, maybe from that the king kind of comes to his own conclusion that the queen's got to go. Right.
Yeah. Once Zach's done typing, we should offer that to him. That's pretty cool. Massive has a good comment. Oop. He says, Massive says, is there a way to review the summary or info? It can be difficult for someone new to get oriented. That's a great point. Yeah, let's work on that. We can definitely work on that. Doge says, I would also like to read something like that. Yeah, we can put something together. Give me, that is a obvious something I probably should have seen, but yeah, that's very cool. What I'll do, I'll put something together for you guys this weekend. So we'll have it for next week. If that works for you guys.
All right, take a look.
Let's see. Yeah, good point. Good point, chat. Thank you.
The king needs to figure out what to do about the primordial. If you want to read it, or should I?
Go for it. Yeah.
The king needs to figure out what to do about the primordial and the queen's growing power over him. Sorry, I just misspoke. Growing. The oracle answers in a riddle. If great Gilgamesh strikes down his queen, a great power will arise, and the greatest enemy will fall. The king thinks this as a sign that he should kill the queen to secure his control over the primordial. So yeah, it's kind of like Croesus's riddle. Basically, Gilgamesh is told that if you strike down the queen, a great power will arise, and a great enemy will fall. He assumes that that great power is him, and that the great enemy are all the people he's trying to defeat. when in reality, the great power is the primordial, who's for the first time will experience real grief, because he's lost the only being that's ever shown him like love and affection, and so for the first time he's gonna experience real raw hatred. And the greatest enemy, of course, is going to be the king and anyone who stands with him.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's cool. Dusty, do you want to tell Zach what you were thinking?
Well, that kind of hit it on the head. Just that the Oracle should kind of suggest that the Queen has too much power, and that would give the king the idea that the Queen's got to go. But
Right,
it's pretty similar to what's here.
Yeah.
Let me adjust this, okay? Great and powerful. Is Gilgamesh, but his queen shines like a star in the night. If great Gilgamesh strikes down his queen, mighty is Gilgamesh. Oh, no. All right, so let me give me a sec. Mighty is Gilgamesh like a star in the night, to which the greatest power turns. All right, try it now. So mighty is Gilgamesh, but his queen shines like a star in the night. If great Gilgamesh strikes down the queen, a great power will arise, and the greatest enemy will fall. So, it basically tells him, in poetic, in a poetic indirect way, that the queen is starting to outshine him.
Right.
And that if he strikes her down, yada yada yada.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. Great. Perfect. Midpoint, the Ghost of Times Past. There are, up until now, the king has, in some ways, been trying to be two different people. His old unsuper self, that would be the fearful king, the one who doesn't have an heir and who's afraid of being obsolete and kind of being left in the dustbin of history, and his new superhero self, which is his confidence and this king. Now he's in charge. He's now a king who just wiped out an entire city, right? And maybe that's not what he wanted, but I'm sure he's going to take credit as this was something that was intended. And these two personas, this old self and this new self, have kind of coexisted. This Midpoint attempts at his attempts at a synthesis during the Midpoint, which may have even been successful. But this beat is the moment when his past catches up to him again, threatening to derail everything that he's accomplished. In Iron Man, there's a reporter named Christine from Act 1. She attacks Tony at this party, telling him that although he supposedly canceled all weapons manufacturing, his weapons were used by extremists to destroy the small town of Gomilra, a town Tony vividly remembers his mentor talking about. Right, so the past is catching up to them a little bit. So, what can we do in terms of a past that threatens that puts into the past catches up to him again, threatening to derail everything he's accomplished. It does. I mean, the Midpoint is a lot of things that happen together. So it does seem like to me that the Midpoint would be the Oracle, right? Like the ghost of the past is saying, "Hey, this woman that you're married to, right, is basically threatening to derail everything you've worked for, right? I mean that's kind of the riddle." Right, that's kind of the result. So maybe inside of the Ghost of Times Past, we see his maybe we see that a scene or an event or something that shows her like her place and his resentment building leading up to the fact that he's going to kill her.
Yeah. He's starting to resent. He doesn't have real control over this thing. She does. It listens, the primordial listens to her.
And maybe that's there's a scene, right? So there's a scene where we actually show this, where the primordial, where she's, and it doesn't even have to be dramatic, although drama and action is probably cooler, but it could be something as mundane as like dinner or something, like the fact that the primordial, like the king really finally for the first time really sees how much power she has over the primordial, right? Kind of like the kid who chooses one parent over the other or something. And it starts to drive him mad.
He starts to notice all the times he wouldn't do anything until she was around to see it, to get her approval.
Right. Dusty, Zach, what do you guys think?
Maybe the king asks Primordial to do something, but the queen kind of makes little of it. Like, oh no, Primordial shouldn't have to do that, and then Primordial won't do it. Like then, clearly showing that the queen's in charge.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh yeah,
that's perfect. That's actually So the question would be: is the queen making a power play of her own, or is she holding back because? She views this thing as basically as the child she never has, and she doesn't want him, being hurt, even though he's practically indestructible.
I think it's more dramatic if she's totally innocent.
All right, yeah. So we can see that the queen is basically a kind of a motherly, matronly figure. Like everybody's like favorite mom.
Right, not necessarily Virgin Mary, but kind of in that same vein. Right?
Just like mom. Everyone's like old, old widow mother waiting at home for her son to come back.
Right.
And she has a son now, and she doesn't want him to get hurt, and that's why she's basically that's giving her the strength to stand up to her tyrant of a husband. But in doing so, she's demonstrating that she's actually the one who controls him, not the king. And that would actually. Give fuel to the paranoia from the Oracle, because she really does have power now. She controls like this thing that is basically the foundation of his power, but she has power over that, so she has power over him. And that's the one thing he cannot stand is to be under someone else's thumb, especially if it's his wife, because this is like not a very nice time. This is basically a very, very male chauvinistic time.
Right. Totally. That's a great angle too. The fact that this is out of all times, this was probably the most like male dominated kind of, time period, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Zach, do you want to try to hit it?
Why don't you try it? All right. Let's see what you come up with.
All right.
Or would you like me?
All right. So we got. How about this? Actually, how about Dusty? You want to take a shot?
Yeah, because I'm starting to get a little bit typed out. No offense.
No worries. That's why we take turns.
Sure.
You don't have to.
It's a little challenging for me.
Okay, no worries. I will do it.
If you want me, I can do it.
I got it. We'll just Zach, you and I can take turns because I know Avery has trouble typing with it too. So we'll do a scene. It is Ghost of Times Past.
I have problems typing out an email.
I know you do. Well, at least help me out. So what would the question be? The question would be,
like how does the king know
why does the king feel emasculated? Or no, how? For it.
How does the king know what the oracle says is true?
Search your feelings. You know it to be true. Sorry, I was rewatching Star Wars today.
Oh yeah. Well, I think I'm able to just be literal to what it is. How are the kings? How might the king's plans get derailed? Right. That's just why not write what the actual step is. Accomplishments. Answer. For the first time, the king understands that his wife, his first wife, controls the primordial is the one who controls the primordial she wields the power of the universe. And then the scene. I mean, I don't think it should be so mundane. You know, maybe the king is looking to kill. Hey, Flint's popping in. What's up, Flint? Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome. Let's see. Maybe the king is trying. You know what? This goes to, I think, what Andrew had originally said. Andrew had this thing where he wanted the primordial to kill a kid or something, right? What if there's a scene where the king is among his people or something, getting praise. Some kid says something or does something or throws something at the king, right? There's something disobedient to the king. The king commands primordial to wipe him out, basically, and the mom / queen steps in and is like, no, completely disobeying him and doing it in front of, and doing it publicly. Thoughts?
I think that's good.
That works.
Perfect.
Cool. So I'll just say, king in public. I'll say cheers, like it's like everyone hooray. Kid throws something at king and hits him. King orders primordial to kill the kid. Wife steps in and says no, humiliating the king in public. Right. Let's see. Oh, did it not? Come on. Don't tell me it didn't save. Oh, motherfucker. It didn't save.
Oh, no.
I'm still having fucking computer issues. Oh, that sucks. Oh, wait.
Oh, no, there it is. I see it.
Oh, yeah. It's there. Never mind. Right. Yay. Okay. Oh, I just
Nice.
keep up with computers.
Where are my glasses?
I don't. Yeah, really. It's like right there in front of me too. Awesome. So next step. So Flint, just to catch you up, TLDR. We're moving through. We're moving through the one sheet. We did fun and games, which you could probably read in just like a couple seconds here, and then we're now moving into that. We're in the midpoint. So we're hitting the internal beats of the midpoint. I have a separate sheet. I'll right up here. I'll just show you. I don't. It's not public only because it's like super. It's a big document. This is something we made a while ago. But it's not private or anything. But it's just too much on screen. So I'm reading off the beat points that we need to hit. So the last one of midpoint is the Nemesis Revealed. This beat is both the all is lost moment for the first half and the moment when things begin picking up speed for the second half. It's the first moment when the hero and Nemesis, meaning the king and the primordial, recognize each other for what they really are. And it's the first time the hero, which is the king, gets an idea of what he's up against, and it's chilling. If the Nemesis has been part of Hero's inner circle till now, it's the moment where he shows his true colors. If he wasn't part of the group, this is the moment when he starts catching on to the hero's real identity, right? So I think this is the point. So this is the point where the king kills the queen, right? And I think it should be. I think the king kills the queen. I think it should be. It doesn't have to be brutal or anything. It can be just like he just like slides a knife into her back. He does it in front of the primordial. We've established that. In fact, I'm sure we have it over. Oops, we have it over here. Let's see it. Just check. In an attempt to show his dominance over the primordial, the king murders his own wife. The primordial is forced to watch. So I think that's perfect, right? Like the king slides a knife into the back of the queen. The primordial is forced to watch, and the only reason they both have to recognize that they're mortal enemies now. But I think the reaction from the primordial has to be extreme agony and like blood curdling pain, right? Otherwise, there would be no reason. Like otherwise, he would just stand up and vaporize the king, and we'd be done. You know what I mean? So there has to be a reason for him not to vaporize the king, and I think that would be that he's just so devastated by pain and grief at what's just happened. Like he's never this creature's never experienced loss, maybe up until this point, and so this is just like the end of his world. You know what I mean? Bueller.
Yeah.
Does that sound good?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. Because he wouldn't. Again, because like to him, this is a completely new experience. He's never felt. He's never felt love before. Or affection, and now he's never felt grief. So it would cut that much deeper to him because it's a totally because he wouldn't understand what it is because he has no context.
Right. Zach, you want to take a stab at it?
Give me a sec.
Or I can do it if you don't.
No. I got it. Sorry. Let's see. Nemesis Reveal. That's what we're talking about?
Yep.
Okay. The king kills his queen. The primordial now bereft of the one being in the universe whoever showed him love and affection. Now, for the first time, feels grief and hatred. It hits him harder than it would anyone else, because he has no context for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it cuts deeper and unbalances him far more than it would anyone else, and far more than it would a human. It was his queen, whom he the king, as a result of primordial, now loses any last vestige of respect and obedience for the king, and views him as a most hated and mortal enemy, to be destroyed to be utterly destroyed. He turns his power against the king and his city. Take a look.
The king kills his queen, whom he now sees as a threat to his power. The primordial, now bereft of the one being in the universe who ever showed him love and affection, now for the first time feels grief and hatred. It hits him harder than it would anyone else because he has no context for it, so it cuts deeper and unbalances him far more than a human. Primordial now loses any last vestige of respect and obedience for the king and views him as the most hated and mortal enemy, to be utterly destroyed. He turns his power against the king in a city. Yeah, totally. He wouldn't be actively the turning the power against the king in the city would be an internal message,
Right?
like a decision. But certainly that is plausible. 100%. Awesome. So we got about 10 minutes, but I think we can do a break into 2B, which is Dark Night of the Soul, which is pretty cool. This is the second Dark Night of the Soul, which is great. So this is inside of the bad guys close in box. A lot of stuff happens in here, and it's actually pretty cool. So there are two things that happen. The first half is internal, which is clinging to the old ways and those fears. And then the second half of this is external, which is actual bad guys. And you can see how things are crossed. So if we had a false defeat, there would be hope here. If there was a false victory, there would be despair here. And we had a false victory. So this is despair. Now, here's a couple things I'm going to read. I will read. In fact, I will pop this on screen so we can just make it easier on myself. You guys want to if you guys want to read this a little bit, or do you want me to read it? I'll TLDR it. So this is the second Denots, which is Dark Night of the Soul. Stunned by the Oracle's prophecy, shocked by his encounter with the ghost, still reeling from the Nemesis Revealed, the hero begins to seriously, which is the king begins to seriously reconsider his decision to ever become a hero in the first place. He's not cut out for this. Despite the small, important physical victories scattered throughout the first half, Midpoint has just felt like a colossal emotional failure, even though he saw it as a false victory, right? How could he have ever assumed he was the right man for this job? And just when the hero thinks he's at his worst, when he is most in need of encouragement, the mentor, if there is one, seems to be at his harshest. Because as sharp as this is another turning point. Up until now, being the hero was kind of fun. It felt like a game. Now he realizes it's not a game, and more people will get hurt if he doesn't step up. Right? And so there are two beats in here. The hero's mask, which is rallying the troops. This is the moment where the hero takes up his super identity in earnest. He must do something, and he's spoiling for a fight. And there's examples and stuff. And then revelation of the plan, right between the moment where the superhero dons his mask and the scene where he gets to beat up the bad guy. There's a short scene where the audience, at least, finally gets a lead on what the Nemesis intends to do in the second half. If the hero sees it too, it's usually by trickery. Black Widow tricks Loki into revealing his plan to unleash the Hulk against the ship and its heroes, right? So, hero's mask, rally the troops, revelation of the plan, and the fact that our king is reeling because he's realizing that he's not really cut out for this. So what I'll do is I will go ahead and add events. I will add I will say break into 2B / bad guys close in, and this is hero's mask. Rally the troops. And then we've got break into 2B. Bad guys close in. Revelation of the plan. And again, these can be very short. We're breaking in to from the midpoint to the bad guys closing in main area. So it's kind of this part right here.
Hey Todd, I have to step away for a sec. Be right back.
No worries.
So
go for it.
Question: Are we free for alling this session, or are we doing?
Yeah.
rounds?
So what we're doing in this session is all of us together, just kind of talking about it. We're trying. Andrew last session was like, why don't we just all work together on this for this session, this section of it.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, I just wanted to see if we were still doing that.
Yep, total free for all.
For this, I kind of have this mental picture of like the king has maybe escaped that initial rage of the primordial. Maybe the primordial is just blinded with rage, and the king is able to slip away. And so the king is basically viewing from a distance the rampage that the primordial is going into across the city, and it's like knowing that he has to face him, and kind of being confronted with what he caused.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's good because bad guys close in. Bad guys close in is fun and games, but from the villain's perspective.
Oh, okay.
Right. So this is perfect, right? So because what we're doing is we're bridging that. So if the hero kind of dons the mask and realizes that he has to do something or change his ways, or in this instance, it would be the king realizing that he has to take out the primordial.
Yeah.
Right. That's really what it is. Like he can't control it. He's ruined it. He's not cut out for this. In order for him to actually be the king, he actually now is going to have to take out the primordial, and the primordial realizes the same. I think the primordial's motivation would be, because the primordial, we've already established that the primordial has enough power, he could vaporize the king in a heartbeat and have this be over. But now I think it's imperative that we show that the primordial wants to cause as much pain to the king as he did to the primordial, right?
Yeah.
And so like we were saying, Flint, is like having people kind of like go in, or having a primordial kind of go in and start to like damage the town, would do just that, I think. Do you want to take a stab at writing the like a scene?
Yeah, I can give it a go. Question.
Boy, that fancy keyboard is hard at work.
It is. It's the best. It's the best sound. It's a soothing sound.
Is it one of those keyboards that's like divided in half?
Oh no, I'm not that fancy.
Because those are really cool, but only if you know how to touch type.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew a guy. He used to work standing up at a desk with one of those keyboards.
Oh yeah.
It was weird.
I have a standing desk. I switch to, like, it can go up and down. I switch to it every once in a while.
Yeah.
Just get tired of sitting sometimes, you know.
I just end up melting into the back of my chair. My body is now one with my seat.
All right. So, what are the consequences of the queen's murder? The king, having escaped the primordial's initial wrath, watches as the primordial burns a path of destruction across the city. The king now understands the disaster his mistakes have brought upon the kingdom. The Primordial aims to cause as much damage as possible to get back at the king, and now his only choice is to take up arms and destroy the Primordial.
Awesome. That's pretty cool.
Sweet.
Yeah, I think we'll take care. We'll knock out Revelation of the Plan, and we'll call it a night.
Cool.
So Revelation of the Plan, right between the moment when the superhero dons his mask and the scene where he gets to beat up the bad guy, there's a short scene where the audience at least finally gets a lead on what the Nemesis intends to do in the second half. So I think this is more of like a scene of like, and I like a scene of I keep thinking that it's not just to, maybe there's a point to destroying the city. Like maybe there's something that's in the city that we could establish, kind of like a Death Star, the Death Star hole. You know what I mean? The run. Do you know what I mean?
It's like an energy source that turns the Primordial into his actual form or something.
Something, yeah, or maybe something like that. Maybe we could. I mean, this is something we could figure out later, but maybe even, I don't know. Maybe they took the Primordial ship and they piped it in, and they have electricity in this ancient city or something, just to demonstrate that it has some kind of power, and he's going to go to it to nuke the whole fucking planet. Or
yeah, they took his ship and put it in the king's treasury, in the king's vault.
Right, or maybe it's in the center of town, and it's a center of like power. Like again,
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? I feel like there should be almost like a race. Like, oh no, if the Primordial gets to this part, it's all over. You know what I mean? And maybe that also means and we don't have to do this tonight, but maybe that also means we go back and depower when he wipes out that other city. Maybe it's depowered. Maybe it's more like a Godzilla figure where he's just, maybe he doesn't like level the whole thing because that's ultimate power. Maybe he like Godzilla's his way through it. And so in this area, he could Godzilla his way through the king's town, right? The kingdom, on his way to the ship, which would glass the entire area.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Who wants to take that?
Hold on. Give me 1 sec.
Okay.
All right. So, Revelation of the Plan. All right. Okay, so, all right. How does the king plan to fight against Primordial? All right. So basically, the idea is that the Primordial ship has been placed in one of the temples in the city. Inside, all right. So how do we do this? I see. I don't want to use like a magic jewel because that's been done so many times.
Right.
So, maybe what would happen is that at this point, someone else descends from the stars. It could be like if the Primordial is like Galactus, then maybe like this, maybe this our equivalent of the Silver Surfer arrives, and he tells that guy should have come in earlier then, so that's not going to work either. Inside, hold on, I got it. Inside is, ship itself is shaped like a. Inside, I'm thinking out loud, guys. All right, so just ignore.
Yeah, no worries.
A spear made from what appears to be like obsidian, but is far stronger. It was it was found lying across the primordial. So so I think for this to work, we would have to make certain that this thing appears at the very beginning as well. As kind of like foreboding, and seems to counter his power and strength. The king takes up the spear and goes forth to save his city and his power. But the king does not know is that the spear can neutralize the primordial, but only if another life is spent to activate it. So the idea is that the king finds this magic spear inside the primordial ship, and it's actually like a bar in his cage. And basically, whoever set the primordial in the space uses it to lock him down. So the king takes up the spear, and we should make certain that this appears at the very beginning. So the king takes up the spear, but what he doesn't realize is that the spear is itself an eldritch artifact, and it's draining away his life even as he's using it to fight the primordial. And I guess the idea being is that the king, with his final strike, stabs the spear deep into the heart of the primordial, and it causes like a massive explosion that hurls the king basically, perhaps without realizing it, sacrifices himself to save the city, and in the process basically redeems himself for the murder of his wife. And the primordial is hurled halfway around the world, and ends up, which explains how he ends up below the New York Harbor.
Okay, interesting.
That would have to be I guess in the big fight.
Yeah, that would be the big fight. So basically, the plan of the primordial is then to capture this staff.
No, the plan of the primordial is to basically wipe out the entire city for revenge.
By.
Excuse me. What are we talking about?
Like how? So. No, you know what? Go for it. I think it's fine.
Yeah, because we established that the king that the primordial wants to basically destroy the city of the king, and the king basically found the only weapon that can hurt it in its ship, which has now been placed in the temple.
Right.
So I guess the idea is that they have this massive fight in the city square. Half the city is demolished. The spear hurts the primordial, but the thing about the spear is that it's like the sword, it's like the black sword from Elric. It requires like a life energy to basically be useful, which means that even as the king is wielding the spear, he's dying. Yeah. So what that would do is that it would raise the stakes, because the king is, the king basically the king created this problem by causing the death of the queen, and now by saving the city, he gains a measure of redemption by sacrificing himself to cast out this creature that he brought in.
I like that. That's cool.
All right. Anyone else think it's cool?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
All right. That's what I got.
Do you want to type it up?
I just did.
Oh, did it not? It didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't refresh on my thing.
Yeah.
It's
refresh.
Refresh.
All right. Okay, there we go. All right. Perfect. Awesome. Great work, guys. How are you guys feeling? Other than tired.
All right.
Just have one question.
Yeah.
Is this is this going to be a plot for a graphic novel or an actual novel?
TBD, right?
Yeah. I think this will work better as a graphic novel, because so much of this is visual.
Possibly, yeah. certainly something to consider. Don't know. I don't know. Probably. You know, it's always challenging because I always see visual. So like to me, everything is a comic book, so it's really kind of hard. But yeah, I certainly could see that point for sure. Like 100%. You guys feeling pretty good?
Yeah.
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 Awesome. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for coming. Another great session. We're kicking ass, taking names. It's coming together, man. It's amazing. Like this is just to show you. Like this was Blood and Metal on the left side. We went through the 8 spots, the 8 little pieces of the story clock, and then we've been expanding it. And now you can see it's actually getting deeper and deeper. And we're filling it out more and more. It's pretty cool, you know. It's coming along really well. And to Mastiff and Doge Vibes' point, I will work on getting some kind of summary of the info, so that everybody can more easily partake. That's a great suggestion. So we will work on that for you guys for next week. So with that said, thank you everybody for showing up. I really appreciate it. Everybody, Dusty, Avery, Zach, Flint, thank you guys as well. And with that, everybody, we will see you next time. See you tomorrow. And until then, take care of yourself and get a good night's sleep. All right. Talk to you soon.